All right. So we are going to define our grief. So I told you grief as a definition is deep sorrow. But here is how we would define it for us. So grief in the context of special needs parents is the complex, ongoing, deeply personal process of mourning the expectations, dreams, or assumptions a parent may have had for their child's future. It can arise in different stages upon diagnosis, during major life transition, or when facing societal barriers and challenges. So it's cyclical. It can coexist with profound love, joy, and advocacy while carrying feelings of sadness, fear, guilt, and uncertainty. And that last part of that definition is just so true. That's what gets me here today. So it can exist, and I can want things to be better for him, and then I can also carry feelings of sadness, fear, guilt, and uncertainty for where we're going and what our life looks like. And I can feel like, did we need to start crying at 4:45 this morning? Not really, but here we are. We made it. I was like, today, come on, get it together. But he didn't, and that's okay. And I'm here anyway, because I can experience two things at the same time. And I figured out that that is where we can find the gratitude in the grief. So this was my favorite author on grief, just regular, everyday grief. And this was a picture that she had that I really liked. And if you can look, it's sort of small to see. I want to zoom in. But it has like liberty of meanings, pockets of peace, the valley of the unexpected, the grief landmines, waterfall of tears, cave of safekeeping, mountains and of tissues, beauty lookout, republic of memory, unexplored territories, the fog banks of the future. I thought it was such a beautiful way to put it because we can experience any and all of that at different times. I thought it was profound. I loved it. So when we find that this is where our heart lives, any day and any moment, we can switch from one side to the other. I was so excited to have the opportunity to do this, and yet my valley of the unexpected was my mourning. But we're here, and we did it. And we have those all the time. So I really like that picture, and I think it's a really good one to keep in our mind of what that looks like. Okay, so this is where we're going to think about some memories. So first, grief is the quiet, persistent ache of having to move forward while a part of you still lingers in what was. I think this is very true for some of us who have a regression kid, and how we still think about what that looked like before, life before diagnosis. And, you know, that ache that just sits with us of like, if it just would have been different. Okay, so I want you to think about, it's gonna get there. It's okay. There we go. Okay, so think about when you found out you were pregnant. The day you found out you were pregnant with this child and the thoughts that you had about that. Who did you tell? Where did you go? How did you announce that you were pregnant? How excited were you? How not excited were you? Think about that experience right there. Then we're going to think about the day they were born. So we just imagine all that we just went through, and we have this baby that is put on our chest, and we're forever different. We're forever changed from that day. For me, it was August 4th, 2014, 1 month early. And there he was, pink with red hair. Somehow a quarter Asian, we don't know. And not the mailman. And he was perfect. He was perfect in every way, even being born a month early. And you know, you get cleaned up, and they move you to the room, and there you are. Your life has changed. So think about an early milestone they made. Mine hit all his milestones right on time. He rolled over. He said his first word. He crawled. He, looked at us. He said all the things. And it was like that first year, or the first time that you had, those are really special memories, but they're also really painful. The painful difference between then and now is very painful. And, when you talk to typical parents, this is not something that they have had. They haven't had where we have to think of then and now, the child who was and the child who is. And that's a unique experience that we have together. Okay? So think about the first thing you noticed that started to seem different. We were involved in an organization called Stroller Strides. There was always a lot of kids around us. And, Austin was a quieter kid. I just thought he was really slow to warm up because he was really attuned to me and us. And so, but it was slowly through continuing in that group and having him around other kids so often that we were able to start seeing like him pulling away from the group, or him doing some things that were, he was moving a little different. And, so I remember when, we just started noticing that, maybe he's just slow to warm up. That's okay. I think about the call to regional center, or when they came for the first evaluation. For us, it was like, he's fine. He just got a little speech delay. Look, his receptive language is great. Like, we're good to go. Let's just do some speech therapy and we'll be on our way. Calling it a day. And so, we started that first year of services, and, every day you're thinking, okay, this is it. It's going to be now. He's going to start talking again. Sometimes if I move it doesn't like that. It's okay. We'll get there. You can be patient. Don't move it much. There we go. Okay. And lastly, we're going to think about the first interaction with the school district. And I can distinctly remember sitting in that first IEP and hearing your child has autism. And even though by that point, and even though, you've thought it, and the process, and you get where we're going, having those words come out of that stranger's mouth, there's nothing like it. Try to explain that to somebody who's never sat there. One of the things I like to do in my college talks is I have taken a bunch of things from Austin's first IEP, and I put them in a circular format, and it's really, Austin is very low, super behind, no interaction with kids, and it's just all information pulled from the IEP of everything you had to endure in that meeting. Some of us might have blocked it out, because I certainly blocked out some of it, but, to have strangers that you don't know sit there and tell you all of those things, very below average, going into the autism room, mod severe, all these different things. It's like, what in the world just happened? Is there anything that anybody wants to share about any memories they had as we thought about that? It's okay if you don't.
I remember when my son got diagnosed, I knew going in there, and I was like, okay, he evaluated, it was during COVID, so it was just me, and my husband, and I remember my sister has two on my side, I called my sister, and I was like, all of a sudden just tears. It was like all of a sudden it hit me, I'm like, this is a lifetime diagnosis, it was like, I was so excited that, not excited, but we finally getting therapy, getting, help, and then it hit me
the reality.
That's, his life is completely, now I know it was what I thought it was, and yeah, he's doing services, but this is going to be profoundly affecting his whole life, and it's not just speech, it's a lot
all
more
of
than
it.
this.
Yeah. It reminds me of a funeral, right? When somebody passes away, we have all this stuff going on until the funeral. Everyone's sending you things and talking to you, and we're like, okay, we just got to get to the funeral. We get to the funeral, and then you're like, oh wait, they're gone forever.
Yeah, I'm not just gonna go.
Oh my gosh, that's it. I'll never talk to them again. I'll never see them again. That's it. And it's this, it hits you in that same way of hold on, I'm a totally different person. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
I'll share something. So So, the whole point of an IEP is to hear all the deficits and the things that your kid can't do, which is why they need all the services that the school district provides. So I remember like the first time for Bryn, when we had her IEP, was almost 3 hours. It's 2.5 to 3 hour meeting. And I just remember going home with like this emotional hangover, because here I have this sea of people who at the time I didn't know, great people, psychologists, OT, speech, everybody. And it was like, okay, so this is where we want her, but she's here. So not only is she going to be in Montsevier, she's going to have a one-to-one, and we don't know how long she's going to need a one-to-one. And you're just taking in all this information, and you almost feel like they're not even talking to you as a human, because you're just trying to absorb something. And I just remember like telling myself, don't cry. Just nod, smile, be grateful that there's a team here that wants to love on my kid and make her better and help her. But I just went home and like the floodgates opened. And at that time I didn't know anybody else with a special needs child, and it just felt so lonely.
Whitney also has twins, so this is one of her twins. So she also had another one at the same time. Yeah. I do remember them like crying and like somebody sliding tissue over in that first meeting. Anyone else cry? I was like, I didn't hold it together at all. It was like, they were like, here you go. Thank you. I'm going to need that. Yeah. Those experiences are so unique, and which is why I like pull those out when I'm talking to professionals. I'm like, you need to understand that our families, this is what we hear constantly. Well, they're not making enough progress. Well, he didn't do this. They bit someone today. They did, and it's like, it's a lot of feedback to be getting all the time, and you're just like helpless. I'm like, I don't know why he bit somebody. Maybe he doesn't go by people. I cooked banana bread one time. I was like, banana bread's better than biting. I don't know. Like I had no, there's been so many times where you get feedback and you just don't know what to do with it. I don't know, like our diagnosis happened at Chalk, and the neurologist was like so dry and was just kind of like, yes, I do believe that Austin is on the autism spectrum. Please do the front desk, clear paperwork. And I was just like, we like walked out. There was like another family at the same time. We just kind of looked in like slow motion. I was like, okay, and then all of a sudden like people are calling you and things are happening, and it's like, you don't even have a chance to like, whoa. And, like keeping in mind that there's an entire group of people that will never experience that. Never have to be in Chalk. They'll never have to hear those words. I had one of my clients today, like, yeah, our son, 14, got in trouble at school for the first time today, and I had to get an email home. I was like, how was that? It's probably really hard. Imagine, did he bite someone? No? Okay. We're doing okay. Okay. So here are some common signs of grief. So we got emotional signs: sadness, depression, feeling overwhelmed. That happens a lot. Hopeless, mourning the loss of those expected milestones. Not only as they are younger, but then we are navigating them as we get older. He's my oldest, so I don't have any frame of reference for that. Anxiety or fear, worrying about the child's future, their independence, or how people are going to treat them. Kate had another video where she talks about this as her son's getting older, and, they're doing research, like, is it better to like put them in a group home earlier? Or is it better to keep them at home longer? Like all of these, things where we have to figure out what that anxiety looks like and what the options are. Guilt, questioning, if we did something wrong, if we're not doing enough. I remember when in between the 2 and 3, we're going to speech, and it's like, you kind of get this idea, like, he's just going to be better. Like, he's going to just start talking one day. You're like, hello, mother, I would like a egg and bacon for breakfast. Thank you so much. And you're like, oh, it's not happening. You're like, wait, what? What else should I be doing? Like, how else should I be supporting him? And like, this like so frantic of a feeling. Anger, frustration, feeling upset with the diagnosis, which is totally normal, or the healthcare or the school system. Or how others perceive your child. I mean, obviously some of you have young ones, and we realize that it's hard when, you're out and people look at you. My son eats primarily bacon, and every time I go to Costco, there has to be a peanut gallery comment. This week was, oh, what are you making with all that bacon? I'm like, oh, well, my son, he has autism, and that's like mostly what he eats. Oh, wow, just one son eats all that bacon? Sir, did I look like I wanted some feedback? Like, did you like a cholesterol test? Like, what is your issue? Why are you're like, you want to have him while he's hangry? Come visit. It's fine. So, and these are minor ones when they're little and people like, or challenge your parenting or think that it has to do with you. Resentment towards parents of neurotypical children. I think that's a big one. I had a big friendship shift because of that. I don't know if anyone else has, but it's like I had a full meltdown on a girls' trip. And, it just switched after that. Like there was nothing that I could do. I just was unwell at that time and had too much going on. And one of my friends that I went on the trip with, her husband, said, well, when do you think you're going to be able to just go somewhere and leave home at home? I was like, I'll update you. Still not there. That was in 2019. So I don't know. It was short-sighted in the fact that we'd be able to just leave it at home. Whatever he's doing, he's doing. Denial, struggling with acceptance of the diagnosis or hoping it will change over time. That's another big one. All right. Some behavioral signs, withdraw. That's a really big one. Avoiding social situations, avoiding friendships and families. Everyone's meeting at blah blah's house on Friday for pizza and a movie. Okay, well, that doesn't work for us. Things like that. Hyperfixation on therapies or fixing, pouring all your energy. Who did this in the beginning? All your energy into interventions and not necessarily using the emotional project, but just trying to fix them. Fatigue or burnout. So caregiver burnout and fatigue is really big. Constant stress leading to exhaustion, sleep disturbances, or physical symptoms. There's a lot of people that when grieving, that you notice that their body changes a lot. I think our cortisol is very high, and I think that can cause a lot of weight gain. And there's something specific about grief weight gain that you have your face feels very round, because remember that physical exhaustion. There's not even a chance you can go on a walk. Sometimes you're just so physically drained. Comparing with other children and which self-explanatory, and then difficulty celebrating milestones. So we have to get really good at celebrating very small milestones because they are going to look different. And sometimes that's hard. So intrusive thoughts. What if we did things different? Why me? I can't do this. I think these are really common ones to have when it's hard, when you're stressed, when you want it to be different, over planning or over preparing, trying to control every aspect of the child's future, prevent hardships, and then focusing on the missed experiences, grieving, lost expectations like friendships, school experiences, or independence. And all of those things can be done in stages in cyclical ways. So we can have any one of those. And why it's important to understand sometimes when the exhaustion is from grief, based on the fact that it was your child's birthday and there was no friends to invite. That's different than just exhaustion, like I haven't slept well. And we experience it different in our body, and we cope with it differently as we're trying to manage it. So this is why grieving is really important, because it has to go under that umbrella, because grief is so specific, and we're born to grieve, actually. When I grieve with people who've lost somebody, I recognize that we all say the same thing. Well, what about their birthday? And how am I ever going to do Christmas? And what about this? And oh my gosh, what if I would have just got home a little sooner? And how come I didn't notice the signs that they were sick? And why? And it's all the same. And nobody tells you to say that. You just start saying it. Just blah, 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 just start vomiting those feelings because they're so overwhelming. So that means our body knows how to grieve. We just have to tell it we're grieving.